Roundtable Sports Network brings you NFL Divisional debate coverage on a weekly basis from your favorite content creators across YouTube, featuring the AFC East Roundtable live Monday and Wednesday evenings, the AFC South Roundtable live Tuesdays at 7 p.m. EST, the NFC South Roundtable live Tuesdays at 7 p.m. EST, the NFC West Roundtable live Tuesdays at 9 p.m. EST, the AFC West Roundtable live Tuesdays at 9 p.m. EST, the NFC North Roundtable live Wednesdays at 6 p.m. EST, the AFC North Roundtable live Wednesdays at 6 p.m. EST, the NFC East Roundtable live Thursdays at 6 p.m. EST. Roundtable Sports, real coverage from real fans.
NFC South Roundtable, how are we feeling today? It is the usual suspects back at it again with another recap here, recapping everything that happened here in Week 11. You might be saying, well, this layup does not look similar to what it usually is here with Roundtable Sports. And that's because Roundtable Sports, baby, we are up in the game. We are giving you guys new graphics for better shows each and every single week. You guys also might be saying to yourselves, where's Smitty at right now? Guys, Smitty will be coming in. He did let me know before the show started that he was going to be a little bit late. So don't worry. Our Falcons representative will still be here just a little bit later on in the show. As always, I am your host, Colby Cochran, here with Roundtable Sports. Today's video brought to you by BetUS. We'll talk to you guys a little bit later how you can get an exclusive limited time deal from them. But let's go ahead and let's just start asking these guys how they're feeling. And we got to start with TJ, because TJ, I mean, damn, you fired Dennis Allen, you get a win, and then a week later, you get another win. Are the Saints back?
Man, I'm not going to jump out the window and say that, but I will say it feels good to win some football games, man. It's been some dark times over the last few weeks, but you win one more, man. You know what they call that? They call it a streak. I mean, they're on the bye week this week. We're going to try to woo-side a little bit, so hopefully they can be back and try to make it 3 in a row. But right now, man, you got to be impressed with what you're seeing from the black and gold right now.
Amen. Victory Shade Monday, or I guess not Monday. I guess it's technically Tuesday here. We call it Victory Shade Monday over on the AFC East Roundtable. I guess we'll call it Victory Shade Tuesday here for TJ on the NFC South Roundtable. My man is sky high right now.
Yes,
and I absolutely love that for you, man.
Yes,
we saw TJ in a deep depression. I started to get a little bit worried. So now that it's turning around, I feel happy for you. But let's go on over to James. James, things maybe not, turning around for you the way that maybe they are for TJ, but that's okay. That's okay. At the very least, you'll have a high pick in the draft. So there's that. How you feeling?
And they didn't lose this week, so that's a positive.
There's that too.
They had a bye week. They couldn't possibly lose. So we'll see, man. It was good to have the week off and, get ready for the second half of this season. The Bucs didn't really make a lot of changes in terms of, coaching or personnel or anything like that. So you just got to bank on them playing some easier teams. We'll get to that whenever we get to the preview later on here down the line this week. But yeah, man, it was good to have the week off. And TJ, your shades still look amazing, dude.
Man, thank you, man. Hey, appreciate it. Like you say, man, these victory shades right here. Don't know how many times I'm going to wear them, but I'm going to wear them as long as they win it.
Yes, sir. Let's go on over to Clay. Clay, you also were on a bye week, so can't say you lost here. Your team's been stringing together maybe a couple of dubs, including this bye week. How you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like TJ said, if they win one more, you call it a streak. They got a tough one, though, this week, so we'll see how that goes. But hey, it was a nice weekend just to relax. I could just throw Red Zone on and didn't have to worry about my team, and I could just kick back, have a couple cocktails, and watch some football.
Yeah.
Hey, man, that's the best way to do so, especially for us teams that are a little bit down in the bottom. When your team's not winning a whole lot, that bye week is like magical because you don't got to deal with the depression. You don't got to worry about making content for your team, man, that just constantly does the same thing, shooting themselves in the foot. So, man, I can't wait for my bye week for my Patriots. But Hey, man, real quick, got to give a massive shout out to the sponsors of this video over at BetUS. Right now, when you guys use the promo code that you see on the screen, YouTube150, that is YouTube150, you will be locked in for a limited time exclusive offer of a 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit, followed by 125% sign-up bonus on your next 2 deposits, all the way up to $2,000. BetUS can also give you a 200% crypto deposit bonus. With them, you can get a 10% back on your net losses 2 times a year, which, hey, BetUS taking care of you, taking care of your money in a way that no other sportsbook on the damn platform has ever done and really will ever do. And BetUS can give you your very own personalized account manager. They got the fastest payouts in the industry. They have a fast and easy deposit and withdrawal process, 24/7 personalized service, 365 days a year, live wagering on all major games, and they got the best betting variety in the business. I'm not just talking about player props. I'm not just talking about betting on NFL games, but you can bet on NFL futures. I tell you guys this all the time, but I think it's the coolest thing because a lot of sports books, they don't be doing this, but BetUS does. NFL futures such as the NFL draft, NFL awards. These are just some of the cool things that you can bet on. I remember during the offseason, you were able to bet on, okay, who is CeeDee Lamb going to play for in 2025? Is he going to still be a part of the Cowboys or is he going to get traded? These are just some of the really cool things that BetUS does. And if you don't want to bet on football, that's okay. You can bet on college football, basketball, baseball, horse racing, fighting, entertainment, politics, you name it, BetUS is going to have it. Remember that supporting the sponsors that support the channel supports everybody here at the NFC South Roundtable and everybody at Roundtable Sports. We could not be here without them. Please remember, though, play smart, play responsible, never bet more than you can afford to lose. But again, a massive, massive shout out over to BetUS. But fellas, real quick, before we go ahead and we start breaking down these games, I actually want to take a quick look at these standings because these are the current NFC South standings after week 11 and as we enter week 12. So currently you do have the Falcons at the top. They are 6-5. You got your Bucs who, hey, you guys are still in second place, not that far off. So there you go, James. I know you've been in the dumps, but you're still trailing there. Second place at 4-6. The Saints in third at 4-7 also. And then you have the Panthers in last place at 3rd-7. Fellas, what do we think about these current standings? TJ, let's start with you.
Well, after 11 weeks, I mean, I think that, the NFC South is exactly what we all thought it was. I mean, it's a struggling division. I mean, you had the Falcons kind of jumped out pretty quickly, won some games. But, now that you see some of these teams are starting to get a little bit more tougher, it's rough. And, these teams are trying to figure it out. You got new coaches or you got some, new coordinators. So, I mean, the NFC South is what we thought it was. I mean, I know for a few weeks it looked like they were turning a corner, but it just shows that they got a lot of growing to do in the South if they want to be like one of the top divisions. And it's so crazy because once upon a time, this was one of the best divisions in football. I mean, you had some of the best quarterback play. All of the quarterbacks within the division were like MVPs, went to the Super Bowl. It's kind of weird to look at the NFC South and the state that it's in right now.
Yeah, for sure. Let's go on over to you, James. What are your thoughts on this? I mean, hey, like I said, you've been down, but you guys are still trailing here in second place. You got to feel good about that.
I mean, in a way, yes. Just looking at this doesn't look good, I think. I mean, it looks like all of these teams are struggling. Man, I was thinking about it earlier today, and quite frankly, it just reminds me of last year, right? Where just some of the roles are reversed, where the Falcons are the Bucs of last year, where it's like, yeah, they're technically winning the division, but not necessarily convincingly winning this division. And that's kind of how I feel right now. Like none of these teams in this division are convincingly good, right? And that isn't to discredit the Panthers or Saints both having 2-game win streaks apiece right now. But, you just look at those records and you kind of think about where each team is right now. And it's just not the best spot in the world, right? I would say that all 4 of these teams still have a lot to prove, not just throughout the remainder of this season, but even, going forward. because some of these teams are going to have a lot of change. Some of these teams might have a lot of change. And there's just a lot of questions, I think, for every single team in this division right now. Which, in one way you can say is like, if you're a fan of any of these four teams, you kind of view that as a good thing because it means your team will always have a chance to make some noise in the division. But you can also view that as a negative thing because it's like, well, yeah, it's not exactly the best division in the world to be competing and
Right.
winning in, so to speak. So yeah, there's a lot of thoughts to it, some positive, but definitely some negative as well.
For sure. And Clay, let's go on over to you. Why don't you wrap us up here with your thoughts on these standings?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, as a Panthers fan, I'm not surprised, right, where we are. But the rest of these teams, I kind of expected, obviously, the Buccaneers to be right there in that Falcons range. But obviously, the Bucs have had, some injuries. They've had some. I think they have a coaching issue. That's a long story for another day. The Saints, obviously, they're going through a transition with a new head coach. If they were smart enough, if their owner was smart enough to get rid of their GM, but obviously there's a whole lot of context into that. And the Falcons they look like they're in a downward spiral, which we'll talk more about that here shortly. But I'm not surprised. I mean, we've been in the bottom of the league. This division has been in the bottom of the league for so long now. And I think that it can turn the corner. It's just when.
Yeah, obviously, 2 games behind here for the Bucs and Saints when it comes to potentially still taking over the Falcons. But 2 games, you guys are definitely still in this. Even the Panthers, who are 1 game behind both the 2nd place Buccaneers and the 3rd place Saints, 3 places behind the 1st place Falcons. Everything is still up for grabs and anything can happen, which is why we said, even in the beginning of the season, before the season started, really, that these in-division games were going to be so damn important for this division by the end of things for overall seeding. So it's going to be really interesting.
I did say this too. I think that if any team wins 9 games in this division, they might win the division. Like, that's how close this could come down to. I said that at the beginning of the season. If any team wins 9 games, you have a chance to win this division.
I'll take a step further from what Clay was saying. Whoever wins this division is the only team that's going to make the playoffs from this division.
Right.
That's just, I feel like
one
that's
team only. Yeah.
Yes. Because whenever you look at where some of the other divisions are right now, right now, the way things are, there's no way any of these other teams who don't win the division in the NFC South are going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, for sure. Welcome in our boy Smitty. Smitty, real quick. Actually, we're about to move on from this topic, but now that we got you here, want to get your quick thoughts on the current standings here for the NFC South.
As I'm looking at it, man, it's gonna get tighter and tighter the further the season goes on, because the Bucs schedule is actually easier than the Falcons schedule going down the stretch. The Saints, all they got to do is just keep playing football and keep attacking, and this could be a 3-team race all the way down to week 18. So and the Panthers, they won 2 straight, and who expected that? They could be Sally spoilers. So this division is going to be probably one of the most interesting ones from this point on.
Yes, sir. Well, alrighty, fellas, let's get into what everybody came here to talk about, and that is Week 11 recap. Let's go ahead and let's get this fixed. All right, there we go. So, TJ, I want to start with you, man. Again, you guys are coming off of back-to-back wins since firing Dennis Allen. Obviously, let's put the caveat on it. You beat the Panthers, you beat the Browns, 2 teams that are, below tier teams in the National Football League, but nonetheless, you're still stringing together wins with an interim head coach, which is the most important thing. What are your thoughts? Take it away.
Yeah, I just think that this team needed to win. I mean, when you go that long without winning a football game, you're just wondering if you're ever going to win again. And it doesn't matter, the magnitude of the win or who you're playing against. You just want to feel like a winner. And I just think that over the last couple of weeks, I've been really optimistic about what I've seen from this football team, because, losing 7 straight, firing your head coach, teams could easily say it's over with, man, Cancun on 3. But you got to you got to give kudos to these guys for going out there fighting and continue to battle. And they're losing battles, don't get me wrong, but they're winning some as well. And you combine the fact that they have won 2 games, starts to build some confidence. And I think they believe in interim coach Darren Rizzi. They finally have a voice that, resembles that of a leader of men. And, I don't care what anybody says. You can be the smartest football coach. You can have all the X's and the O's. You can have the Willies and the Joes. But if you can't motivate guys to reach their full potential, make these guys believe that they can actually win, then you're going to be a loser. And, I just think that's what it just came down to. The guys didn't believe in Dennis Allen. They believe in Darren Rizzi. In the last 2 weeks, we saw that. In the game versus the Cleveland Browns, there was a time and portions of that game where if you're a fan and you're looking at Saints football, you're like, oh, man, here we go again. A turnover by Taysom Hill, fumbling by the red zone. There was a moment where if you're watching that game, you're like, well, they're gonna break our heart again this week. You do some positive things, but they finished. And, they scored 21 points in the fourth quarter alone, and they pulled away from the Browns. And, Myles Garrett, who's one of the best pass rushers in the entire NFL, was a non-factor. The game plan from the first half to the second half, things I had questions about were answered. They were able to capitalize. Taysom Hill, they utilized him in all different, facets of the game. This is what you need to do if you're going to get yourself out of this hole. Now, I'm not going to go out here and say, yeah, the Saints going to run the table or the Saints. I don't know how many more games they're going to win. But the fact that they're going out there trying and giving it their all, I have nothing but respect for that. And I'm liking what I'm seeing. I'm loving the energy from the Saints, and I'm just watching it week to week. And hopefully they can build on this, and we'll see where it is at the end of the season.
Now, before we get the rest of these guys' thoughts on the Saints game, TJ, real quick, I do want to ask you, how have the Saints been able to turn this thing around? I mean, like we said, you start off the season hot, you're blowing out teams, you're getting back-to-back wins, but then after that, Dennis Allen really put this team in the dumpster. I mean, are these players just finally playing up to expectations? Are they finally being utilized the right way? Or did they just check out with Dennis Allen and now they have extra motivation? Tell me why right now the Saints are starting to perform better since the firing of Dennis Allen.
Well, to answer that question, Kobe, you got to go back to the last game of the season last year when the Saints played the Atlanta Falcons. And there was a portion of the game, it was very controversial. It was a hot topic. It was the fact that Jameis Winston allowed Jamal Williams to score that 1-yard touchdown because he didn't score a touchdown the entire season. So he basically audibled it. They were supposed to take a knee. And Dennis Allen goes to the podium and throws his team under the bus. He apologized to Arthur Smith. He apologized to the Atlanta Falcons. And that rubbed the team the wrong way. And the next day, a lot of those guys, like they came there for the exit meeting and they had like some type of email, and the general manager wanted to speak with him. They thought that Dennis Allen was going to get fired. But he basically came into the locker room and told those guys, get on board with Dennis Allen or else. That's kind of like what the language was. So that went into the next season. And I think that left a bad taste in a lot of those players' mouth that he threw Jameis under the bus. He didn't ride for his players. And I just think that they started the season off hot because everything was going well. But they didn't face any type of adversity where his coaching could be questioned. But those guys in the back of their mind, they always felt like this dude wasn't the answer, in my opinion, because you can't explain that. I understand that injuries happen and you lose certain guys and they're effective. But at the end of the day, you're still going to see those guys go out there and battle and fight. There were games that you can just sit back and watch. I mean, 2 games in particular was the Bucs game where the Bucs dropped 51 points, and the Thursday game when Sean Payton came to town and dropped 33. Those guys weren't fighting out there. It was basically like they were just over it. The answer to your question is they didn't want to play for Dennis Allen, and they want to play for Darren Rizzi. And it all stems back from that moment. Like, that's why I said some guys are not leaders of men. Dennis Allen threw his players under the bus, and he had certain qualities that didn't resemble a head coach. And those guys saw that. I mean, you only can fake it for so long. It's rather you got it or you don't. And Dennis Allen didn't have it.
For sure. All right. I like it. Let's go on over to you, James. Why don't you let me know what you think, or what you thought rather, about that Saints game?
Yeah, I mean, again, another great win for the Saints here. The Browns did have some of their own mistakes, right? A couple of turnovers on downs that the Saints capitalized on, a couple of missed field goals that at least the Saints were able to, capitalize on a little bit in terms of not getting points for the Browns. But ultimately, kind of like what TJ was saying, this looks like a rejuvenated team. And I was sitting here and I was thinking about it, and it reminded me of a similar situation from a couple of years ago with another NFC South team with Steve Wilkes and the Carolina Panthers, where you saw that team come alive, right? And even last year with Antonio Pierce and the Las Vegas Raiders. Sometimes in a Rich something, the special teams coach, I can't remember the team that he had coached for at the time, but there was another special teams coordinator who had some type of success as an interim coach as well. Point being is this: sometimes changes to head coach can rejuvenate teams and have them keep some level of success throughout the remainder of the season. Now, we've had a bit of a mixed bag the past couple of years in terms of what happens after that. In the case of the Carolina Panthers, they probably should have kept Steve Wilkes. They didn't, and now that feels like maybe that wasn't the best decision in the world. Whereas with the Raiders, with Antonio Pierce, they decided to keep Antonio Pierce, and it doesn't look like that's it's not off to a hot start right now, right? So I want to be very curious to see if the Saints continue this streak and this momentum that they have, what that kind of conversation becomes with, do you want to keep Darren Rizzi as a head coach? Do you want to go out and get maybe a Mike Vrabel, a Mike McCarthy if he's available, a Kevin Stefanski if he gets released from the Cleveland Browns? That is making that conversation more and more interesting the more the Saints are winning games. And look, you're seeing this team play, again, I said rejuvenated football, but they look like the old Saints. I mean, for goodness sakes, Taysom Hill had over 180 scrimmage yards and 3 touchdowns in this game. Taysom Hill ran for a 75-yard touchdown in this football game. That's just bonkers to me. Marquez Valdez-Scantling looks like exactly what they were getting from the TJ, help me out here.
The Bills or the Chiefs?
No. The
Packers?
deep threat receiver on the Saints.
Rashid Shaheed. I'm sorry,
Rashid Shaheed. Yes, Rashid Shaheed. It looks like he is fit in perfectly into that mold right now. He had a 71-yard touchdown in this game, and you're seeing Derek Carr work. Like the wide receivers, you don't have a ton of options right now besides Valdez-Scantling, but Foster Moreau is coming up big. Taysom Hill is coming up big. Even Jawan Johnson had a touchdown in this game. Like the offense has come alive. Defensively, you're seeing guys continue to make some plays like Brian Breesy. Mario Davis is still doing his thing. So yeah, like I said, the conversation gets more interesting the more the Saints win of what the heck do they do with Darren Rizzi? Do they keep him as the head coach? Do they go off to go and try and get another flashier name? It's going to be an interesting conversation, but I'm very intrigued by the Saints based on what we've seen the past 2 weeks.
Well, guys, before we continue on this discussion for this Saints game, I want to get into a couple of your super chats. You guys being very, very generous today. And of course, when you guys donate, it goes to support Roundtable Sports tremendously. And you get your question, your comment, your concern, your hate comment, no matter what it is, throw it up on the screen and we have to react to it. So King Arthur comes in with a $2 donation and says, TJ, did Peyton win the Petty Award?
I guess he referring to, the whole Falcons thing. I think it's funny. I found out at the end of the game that I guess they did some type of poll in Atlanta about, the worst Atlanta villains, and Sean Payton was ranked number 12 amongst the worst Atlanta villains or something like that. I don't know, man, but I mean, you gotta admit, I mean, he does have Atlanta's number and has had it since he joined the Saints. And I mean, he got the Saints number 2. I mean, he basically wiped out the South. So
let's get into our next super chat here from Giovanni, who comes in with a $5 donation. Big shout out to Giovanni. Says, Smitty is more bitter than a bottle of Worcestershire sauce. Hashtag who dat.
Wow.
Oh, damn. Let me tell you, I
Come
think
on,
my
Giovanni.
favorite One of my favorite rivalries since I started hosting this roundtable has easily become the Saints and the Falcons. I mean, every single week, it's either Falcons fans coming at TJ or Saints fans coming at Smitty. Every single week, I look forward to this. But, oh, man, that's a W comment. But let's go ahead and let's try to finish off this Saints game. Let's go down to you, Clay. What'd you think about this?
Yeah, Taysom Hill might need to be like drug tested. That dude is bald. I mean, I've never I'm serious. What's his occupation? It's just ball. I mean, that's all it is. I mean, the dude can do it all: throw, catch, run, whatever you want. Play special team, make tackles. He can play linebacker, I'm sure, if he wanted to. And it's ridiculous because the guy's got to be 36, 37 years old at this point.
I think he's 34 or something like that.
34.
Oh, he's 34. Well, either way, he needs to thank his athletic trainer or whoever is training him, because that man can, I mean, he just knows how to ball. I mean, he's got a master's degree in that as of right now. But yeah, Valdez-Scantling, man, is out there earning his future paycheck, I think. The only thing I would say with the Saints that I would harp on them on is just the second half offense. It kind of just felt like it was a little bit of yawn fest there. But other than that, they did what they needed to do when they put up 35 points, right? But the problem is for me with the Saints now is that you have all this momentum, right? You found this groove. It comes back to the bye week. And I just hope that it doesn't crash the party, right, for the Saints. Sure, the team gets to patch up some injuries, which is huge for them. They just cannot come out after the bye week flat. If you want to keep this 4-7 momentum, you've got to come out there after the bye week and absolutely crush it another 35 points, right? The pass rush, I think, is starting to get better. You had 3 sacks, 5 tackles for a loss in this game. So it's I think that's starting to improve. Again, like I said, Taysom Hill and that tight end crew is starting to come alive. It's been a nice surprise with all those guys. Like I said, I thought the Saints were going to take care of business in this game. So,
all right, Smitty, let's go on over to you and wrap us up. What'd you think about this Saints dub?
This game turned out better than I expected. Y'all remember I said a 63 score, but it was much more exciting than that. I got to give the Saints credit, man, for bouncing back 2 straight weeks. Not only did the players quit on Disney Allen, I think the coaches quit too, because they've been more effective in smoothing their play calling and in rhythm, and that's scary for anybody. And just like I just said, man, other 3 teams other than the Falcons, this is going to be a race all the way to the end of the season. So, you got to give credit to the Saints for taking advantage of those turnovers, man. Jameis Winston almost had 400 yards. And had they not made those turnovers, I think this game was a little bit closer. But Taysom Hill, man, he's a secret weapon. And as I tell y'all, every time they play the Falcons, it's a Taysom Hill show. So it just showed against the Cleveland Browns, and he's probably one of the most underrated players in the league, man. He can turn the game around by himself. So the Saints going to be scared if they win the next 2 games. If they get back to 500, it's going to be tortoise versus their hair. And who wins, I don't know.
Well, guys, that is your recap for the Saints Week 11 matchup. You guys let us know in the comment section below what you thought about this. But before we get into the final matchup that we had here for the NFC South in Week 11, because, again, let's keep in mind, 2 out of the 4 teams were on a bye week. Do want to get to the next super chat here from T. Riley. A $2 donation says, "Go Falcons, go, and take Dennis Allen with y'all." All right. T. Riley coming in with some smoke here, but
hey, let me say this though. Okay, let me just say this. Now I know the Atlanta Falcons. We're gonna get to that in a minute. I know they're having issues with their defensive coordinator. Wouldn't that be crazy if Dennis Allen end up being the next defensive coordinator for the Falcons?
I don't want him.
That would be the best show of the NFC South Roundtable.
Don't even jinx us like that. Don't even do it.
What? I mean, what's wrong with him as a coordinator? He's one of the best as a coordinator.
I wouldn't even let dude order DoorDash for me. I'm gonna just keep it real with you,
man. Hey, man. I mean, it could be one of those Steve Spagnuolo type situations where he's not a good head coach, but look how he has the Chiefs defense, and he's had the Saints defense in the top 5 every year.
Look with
Look
Robert
at your former head coach in this Pittsburgh right now with that off as the OC.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I said he was a better offensive coordinator than the coach because he
man.
can't lead a team. But look, I would rather have Steve Wilkes or Robert Saleh next year. I would not go Dennis Allen because, yeah, he's had good runs as defensive coordinator, but that energy, man, it's just off. And I wouldn't want that on my coaching staff.
I got you. Fair enough.
Even Josh McDaniels is another one too, where he was a head coach in the NFL for two different teams, the Broncos and the Raiders, totally crapped the bag and made them look like some of the worst teams in the NFL in their respective years, but comes to New England and constantly made the Patriots look like a top 5 offense. Now, was that him? Was it Brady? It was definitely, at least in some part, because of Josh McDaniels. Some coordinators are just better as positional coaches, as a coordinator, and just not good as head coaches. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see where Dennis Allen ultimately ends up going. And if he just takes that route where he takes a year or 2 years off, like a lot of failed head coaches do, because they're signed to multi-year deals, they have a lot of money, they don't need to necessarily coach anyway. So that's going to be a really interesting avenue to see what happens with him. But Smitty, let's go on over to you. Your Falcons, you guys dropped the ball a little bit, to put it nicely.
Man, dropped the ball. They threw the ball away. They dropped it.
Hey, man, Smitty, I don't want you to fall into a depression, so I'm trying to put this as lightly as I possibly can. But Smitty, break it down for me, man. Go on your rant.
Man, I ain't gonna even go on another rant. If y'all want to see me pissed off, just go to Smitty Sports Machine and y'all see my recap. But but look, I'm gonna keep it real with you. I'm gonna keep it funky with y'all like I always do. This game was just pitiful, man. They look unprepared, and just like we seen with Seattle and New Orleans, they just didn't prepare for this game. Yeah, we talk about the altitude, that's can affect the game. You talk about injuries. I don't want to hear that. And the reason why, as I tell people, man, Bill Belichick is probably the greatest head coach to ever coach. He won Super Bowl with third-string practice squad players. All they had to do was fit the system, come in and play, and give their best effort. And I don't see it, just like we talked about with Dennis Allen in New Orleans. For some reason, this defense is not going all out for Jimmy Lake. I don't think they're buying into the scheme. They're playing out of place most of the time. They can't get to the quarterback. And that's causing problems. Why? Teams are putting a lot of points on the board. And yeah, this offense is high power. It was top 5. But if they flutter, then what? Then you stuck in the game just like you had last Saturday. You get blowed out when you can't keep up. So Kirk Cousins and Zach Robinson are going to have to step it up on offense. Bijan Robinson started off pretty good, but that flamed out. Drop passes, overthrows, sacks, anything you can name went wrong in this game, it went wrong. So now going into the bye week, the coaches have to regroup. They have to go over a better game plan on offense and defense to get back into a rhythm. And if they don't do that, like I said, this race is going to get tighter and tighter. And I hate to see it, but Falcons can fall flat. I've seen it before. I've been a Falcon fan 34 years, so I've seen the worst of the worst. And this game, just put it behind us and pray they come out better against the Chargers, who had an amazing win on Sunday night.
Hey guys, look, 125 of you watching right now. We should easily be able to hit 100 likes by the end of the stream. So please make sure you guys hit that thumbs up button right now. It helps support this channel tremendously in ways that we cannot possibly explain. It basically it helps put us out there in the YouTube algorithm, makes this channel so much easier to find. It helps grow the NFC South Roundtable family just a little bit more. So go ahead and support us. Super quick, super free. It takes less than a second. Hit that thumbs up button, guys. Also, you guys know that when we say hit that thumbs up button, it lights up. I think I said that before, but I think that's one of the coolest YouTube features out there. Anyway, let's go down to Clay. And Clay, give me your thoughts on this Falcons L.
Yeah, I mean, I predicted. I predicted this in our preview show last week. I told y'all this, and I got some heat for it. And it's hard having a master's degree in ball knowledge, ladies and gentlemen. It's very hard. But I'll say this, like, Sean Payton it's just like TJ alluded to earlier. Sean Payton has had the Panthers number, they've had the Bucks number, he's had the Saints, or not the Saints number, the Falcons number. He's had the NFC South number since he's been when he was a head coach here. Then he goes off to Denver. He's doing the same thing. He already beat us. He's beaten the Saints. He's beaten the Falcons, and he's beaten the Bucs. He's beaten every single one of us this year, and he's beat all of us pretty badly, if I'm not mistaken. So, you kind of saw it coming. The problem is for me with the Atlanta Falcons is Kirk Tober is dead and buried. All right. It has gone from a flaming hot to cold leftovers, 173 yards and 0 touchdowns and interception. And it sounds like a lot of Saints fans are calling for the rookie to start. I mean, I wouldn't suggest that, but it sounds like they are. Another thing is where was the run game? Bijan Robinson only had 35 yards on 12 carries. I guess Tyler Algier missed the flight because I didn't see anything from him.
He was there. They just didn't give him the ball. He was there.
I know. And that's what I don't understand. You have two weapons as in Algier and Bijan, and you don't try to run the damn ball 25 to 30 times. It doesn't make sense to me whatsoever. If you want to take pressure off of Kirko Chains and you want him to be Kirko Chains, you run the damn ball. All right. Okay. And so, again, and I agree with Smitty. It's the next man up mentality in the NFL. Okay. Injuries are not, which we've seen that even here in Carolina. We've had to do the same thing. We've been doing it all season long, and we just got our defense, I think, back to fully healthy besides having Derek Brown back. So, it's about the next man up mentality and being able to make the right adjustments and playing in the scheme that you're fitted into.
Fact.
All right, James, what did you think about the game?
So I just did some quick math.
There you go.
Real quick, let me preface this. I used to think that Sean Payton was a demon sent from hell to make me miserable. But I've come to the realization that Sean Payton was a demon sent from hell to make all of us miserable. So Sean Payton has outscored the NFC South 125 to 37.
I saw that
this year. That's insane. And against the rest of the league, the Broncos have scored 110 points. So, or in the rest of their games this year. So over half of their points this year have been against the NFC South. That's just insane to me. Look, this was an ugly game. No other way to slice it for the Atlanta Falcons. And look, I agree with Smitty. I agree with Clay. Like, they are on very shaky ground right now. Now, offensively against the Broncos, I wasn't that surprised because obviously just from the quick math I did and the research that, you just look at the other games against the NFC South. Yeah, like this defense is no joke against a lot of teams this year. I think the Broncos have one of the better defenses. Yes, a top 5 defense in this league. So it didn't really surprise me a ton to see the Falcons offense struggle, but for Bo Nix to have a near perfect day on offense and really just Sean Payton going at will was a little concerning. Now, part of that can be because, yes, it's Sean Payton and he just decides to just curb stomp the NFC South any chance he gets. But also, I do agree with Smitty and Clay where it's like, yeah, there are some concerns here about the defense. Like, when is this pass rush going to come into play here? That has been such a big problem, not just for the Falcons, by the way, but we all mentioned it at the beginning of this season. It's been a problem for the entire NFC South, right? Where these teams cannot find a pass rush, and it's starting to catch up to teams like the Falcons, teams like the Bucs, where it's like it's starting to lose them games now, right? You are seeing the Saints come back a little bit with their pass rush. I think you're even starting to see the Panthers pass rush come back a little bit with certain guys, like Ashawn Robinson and some other guys in that mix over there in Carolina as well. But it's becoming more and more of a glaring issue for the Falcons as these weeks progress. Like, Bo Nix looked very comfortable and he capitalized. He tore Atlanta apart. So I don't know if that's an issue with the defensive coordinator. I don't know if that's an issue with just the players not executing. It's probably somewhere in the middle where it's an issue with all of those things to a certain degree. But it's going to be interesting to see how the Falcons continue here. I remember back in 2011, Raheem Morris started 4-2 with the Bucs, and then he went on to finish that season 4-12. So not great. Raheem Morris has always had a penchant to start off strong and then just completely collapse. And we'll see if that happens to the Falcons or not. Right now, it's not great early returns.
And before TJ goes, I just got to say, this is what pissed me off the most. Raheem Morris was so unprepared this game. You were in the NFC South with the Falcons for 5 years. You know what Sean Payton is about. Really, the NFL know what he's about. He loves to play action. He loves the short dink off, dink and dunk pass game. He was throwing the ball down the middle of the field wide open to tight ends, running backs, anybody who could catch the football. I mean, they know exactly what he's going to do, and they still couldn't stop it. So it's just unprepared coaching, and it's got to get better, or Falcons going to hit rock bottom, and it's not going to be pretty.
Hey, Smitty. Well, at least one thing you got going for yourself is, before this game, you were third place in the NFC. Now you're fourth. So you did drop, but you only dropped one spot. You're still confidently there in the playoff run. The fifth seed right now in the NFC is the Vikings, and they're at 8 wins?
Yeah.
So, you guys
That's
are
only because the Lions in first place.
Yeah, so you guys are still setting yourselves up pretty well right now in terms of a postseason run. Obviously, you don't want to fall off at the end of the season, but you are at least still managing well in terms of your postseason run. But TJ, let's go on over to you and have you wrap us up here with this Falcons game.
Yeah, I got to piggyback off something that Smitty said about being unprepared. I always think that the game starts before the whistle blows. And what I mean by that is on Saturday evening, I seen the Atlanta Falcons getting on a plane and going to Denver. Now, some people are like, man, what's wrong with that? You're about to play in a completely different element, right? A completely different element, high altitude. People always talk about like, man, that mile high air is something serious. You're not even prepared for that. That's number one. Number two, for the second week in a row, why are the Atlanta Falcons trying to be Kirk Cousins dependent? Why? I don't understand this. Running the football has been key for the Atlanta Falcons throughout that little winning streak they had. Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier. I don't know why Zach Robinson just came to himself and like, man, we need to let Kirk Cousins throw the ball more. Kirk Cousins is a statue in a pocket. You know what I'm saying? He's his best quality is the play action game. You're not allowing him to utilize his best quality because you're not running the football. And like you were saying about the defense, I mean, it was just, I don't know what it is, man. I don't know if the guys just don't believe in Jimmy Lake. I don't know if
buying into it. They're not buying into it.
I don't know. I don't know what it is, but those guys look lost out there. Look like guys don't know what to do. It seems like guys aren't communicating. It just seems to me like they have to make a change during this bye week. The question was asked to Raheem Morris about the change, and he said he'll look into it. They got to make a change, because if they don't, he ain't gonna do it.
It's his buddy. He ain't gonna do it.
Yeah, but I mean, sometimes you got to have those tough conversations, man, because that's like this your second stop right here. And like Dennis Allen, you know what I'm saying? Like everybody's looking at you. You flaked out at your last job. So, you might be on a short leash here, so I don't know, man. The pass rush has been non-existent for the Falcons. And I'm very concerned about the next couple of weeks for the Falcons because, man, like I said, Kirk Cousins is a statue in that pocket. And you're going up against the Chargers team who has one of the best defenses in all of football. I mean, I don't know if anybody's seen that game on Sunday night, but Joe Burrow was getting harassed out there, and Joe Burrow can move around in a pocket. And then after that, you got the Vikings who have a pretty good pass rush in their own right. So it's going to be tough, man, over the next couple of weeks. Look, I'm not going to just completely write them off. I think that they kind of separated themselves to a point where they can kind of figure some things out. But if you end up losing to the Chargers and then again to the Vikings, like it can get tough for them.
It's got to be a change.
So you got to do something. But to me, I think the big it's an easy fix. It's the fact that they're not doing it, which is baffling to me. Which is Bijan Robinson needs to be the focal point of your offense. I understand you paid Kirk Cousins that money, and I know what teams do. They all of them do it. They try to put these guys out here because they gave them the big contracts. They want them to be the focal point. But that's not where Kirk Cousins is at right now. That's not where the Falcons are at right now. they need to run the football. But as long as they continue to be stubborn the way that they are, they're going to find themselves in a hole that they don't need to be in. They got a stud at running back. Like, this would be like, it'll be one thing if you can't run the football. You actually got 2 studs and you don't want to use them. I mean, it's bad.
But TJ, again, this is where the Falcons went wrong. And I've been saying it on my show, on this show. When you have all these veterans come in and you pay them this money, why did you go out and get first-year play callers? Go out and get veteran offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator to carry these guys. You use those guys. If you want to bring them in, use them as position coaches first. Then when the vets leave, then you push them up to those positions. You don't just bring them in when they really haven't called plays in the NFL. You don't do it.
And you know, another thing, Smitty, since we talking about that, you know, the biggest issue with the defense, and I watched this game from start to finish.
Scheming.
Too much scheming. Sometimes you got to let them dogs hunt, man. You know, like it sometimes it got to be about technique,
right?
You know, over scheme. And a lot of those guys aren't being utilized the way that they should up front. Like those guys can get home, man. Matthew Judon didn't forget how to rush the quarterback. You know, like that scheme is really like putting this false sense out there of what this team actually is. I'm like, no way. That scheme is killing a lot of guys. And I think that a lot of Atlanta Falcon fans may have a false sense of reality of what that defensive line is. They need to allow those dogs to hunt and allow those guys to work on, focus on the technique more so than the scheme.
Well, hey guys, look, that is going to wrap it up for today's video. A recap here of Week 11 for the NFC South Roundtable. As always, we want to hear from you guys in the comment section below, whether it is in the live chat or you're watching this back. We want to hear from you in the comment section. What did you think about both of these games, the Saints and the Falcons? Let us know in the comment section below. Remember to leave a big like on this video. Everybody that is watching live right now, 160 of you guys watching right now, please make sure you guys, before we end off today's stream, leave a big like on the video. Like I alluded to earlier, it helps support us so much, along with subscribing to the channel to support us here and hitting that bell notification when you do, so that you get notified every single time we post a video, and every single time that we go live, so you guys can get on in with the group discussion. As you can see, Clay is going absolutely crazy right now because we have a party every single week here, every single Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Like again, Clay saying again, we go party crazy every single Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern, and we would love to have you be a part of it. Make sure you guys subscribe to each of these individual creators, linked in the description box below. Keep your friends close, but keep your enemies closer. We love that you guys support them here on the NFC South Roundtable, but we want you to also support them on their individual videos too. Make sure you guys check out the NFC South Roundtable on Spotify too. Follow us, review us, all that good stuff. But until next Tuesday, we will see you guys next time, and stay safe.